Welcome to Monoreel Radio Dockside Chat number 35. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are coming to you live from a beautiful afternoon at Disney Springs. It's warm, but not blazing hot, and we have a nice little breeze cutting through.
Yeah, this is probably the last one of these that we're going to be able to do during the daytime hours. Next one, I'm thinking we're going to be doing them after dinner. Here's where we make the change.
Yeah, Monoreel after dark, as it were. Yeah, we're starting to get to that time of the year. I think certainly by middle to end of May, when we're sort of lining up our next conversation. But you know what? I feel like this time last year, we were already discussing or had already gone to nighttime recordings. This was, for all intents and purposes, a very cool winter down here. And I feel like that favorable weather has carried on a little bit longer than it did the first year, certainly the first year that we were here.
I would agree. I feel like we actually had a spring this year, which we usually experience in like January, February. I feel like we actually got to appreciate spring along with the rest of the people back at home as far as when it, just time-wise, as far as it lining up. But I feel like last year, I think you're right, but I think it was more circumstantial that we switched to night. I think we had something going on. Or we did it after dinner or whatever.
Yeah, whatever the case may be. Let's take a sip of our margarita, which is customary.
Yes.
Jackie has gotten very fortunate where they have continued the Chipotle Pineapple Margarita, the seasonal offering.
I'm so excited because last time we were recording on St. Patty's Day, and there was no way we were going to shun the JMO Margarita offering that they had.
So good.
It was really, really good.
It had no business being that good.
But I was not expecting to see this return until next year. So I'm very happy that it's back. I'm glad I get at least one more. Maybe this is the seasonal until we switch out to Flavors of Florida, which is going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, and I hope that when they do Flavors of Florida, they bring back that strawberry basil. That was so good.
How did I know that you were going to say every year you have been pining away for that?
It was
It
delicious.
really was. Yeah, that's like a top 5 margarita.
Enjoy this while it lasts. Cheers. Oh, yeah. I got the añejo. That was made with some love. Man.
So good. So good. I'm so happy that I still get to have that.
Yeah. Well, now that we're all loosened up, we got a lot of fun things to talk about today.
This episode is sponsored by Hidden Mickey Supply Co. Products include Disney and Pixar-inspired 3D straw charms, ornaments, and personalized photo nightlights. Listeners of Monoreel Radio can get a 10% discount using the code Monoreel10 at checkout. Visit Hidden Mickey Supply Co. on Instagram and Etsy to stay up to date on all of the newest drops. And they have been dropping a lot of new ones because they got a new... I don't want to mess this up because I do not know the mechanics, honestly. But they are making straw charms with even more colors. Their Figment one looks so sick because they're able to layer the purple and orange, and it's so cool. So very excited for Heather and Taylor, our friends at Hidden Mickey Supply Co.
Well, we may have to add some new ones to our collection then. Let's start talking about, let's go down the road. Let's shoot down I-4. Oh, well, before I do that, let's talk about what we are watching. Because I'm so excited to talk about Mardi Gras, but I can't forget about something that I was equally as excited for, which was the Not Just a Goof documentary that dropped on Disney Plus in conjunction with the 30th, God help us all, anniversary of a Goofy movie.
I love that they did that, though. This was one of the most brilliant cross-promotions and use of the brands all harmonizing together that we've seen in a while, because they did the merch drop, which was outstanding, by the way. Actually, you and I should go over to D-Style.
Yeah, Trendy. Well,
Trendy's over there.
Oh, that's right. Disney Style. Yeah.
On the other side, because I have not seen, or we'll go to WAD after this, because I've not seen, well, we haven't really been in the parks.
I was during Springtime Surprise, and I went into 2 shops and didn't find any of the Goofy movie merchandise. And actually, when we first got here, you had broken off to go look at something yourself, and then I went into the pin trading stand where they have the magic bands, because I want the Powerline one. They didn't have it there either. So the jury's out on whether or not that has been released in the parks, or if that was exclusive to DisneyStore.com, the website. But I mean, we're here, and so we might as well cruise. We have some fun things that we're doing after we record. That's going to bring us around Disney Springs a little bit. So I think that we can certainly scope a few things out.
Yeah, I want to see if it's still kicking around anywhere, because this line, they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah.
It looked like it was from the 90s. They branded it properly with the 30th anniversary. It was like everything that our inner 90s child could have ever wanted. They knocked it out of the park. And I love that they also held the release of this documentary for the 30th. So it got to feel like a bigger celebration, because for the 25th, it kind of, well, I don't want to say that it got screwed, but the 25th anniversary, the anniversary is always on April 7th. The 25th was in the heat of the pandemic. It was like the third week of the shutdown. So I feel like you and I properly celebrated because we watched it. We did a live watch with our listeners. A lot of people joined us, and it was so much fun. And this is where you really got to see the second life of the movie take place on TikTok, because so many fans were celebrating. Sorry, the song. I'm so distracted by the song. It's no doubt. And she's really great.
Yeah.
The artist that's here today, she's been great with these cover songs. It's one person. I don't know if our listeners are going to be able to tell how it sounds coming through the recording. She's got like a loop track. So this isn't two people harmonizing. She's got something where she's harmonizing with herself. She's got the reverb going. It sounds really great. Anyway, what I love most about this documentary is that Kevin Lima, the director, is getting to see how much this movie meant to people. Because I remember when we celebrated the 25th and when we had reviewed it on the show way before the anniversary. That was like episode 45 for us. And I remember we tweeted it out there. And I can't remember if he retweeted it, or if he liked it, or if he responded or something. But he's very much on top of the conversation online about Goofy Movie well before TikTok. And part of the reason is because, as they exposed in the documentary, this movie was buried. It was a feature-length animation. The story was very much an Americana domestic story, so they didn't have the faith that they had in things like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and Lion King to do well internationally at the box office. So it was very much a little engine that could movie just to get it over the finish line with everything that was going on with Jeffrey Katzenberg at the time. They get it out. It doesn't do well commercially or critically, and it develops this cult following. And I'm just so happy for the creative team that worked on it, that they get to see the fruits of their labor paying off by how much this meant to the fans.
I wonder how much of this movie found its second life because of Disney Plus, because of our generation now having kids, and kids sort of just scrolling and looking and like finding things on their own. I would like to believe that we had said when Disney Plus launched, and we have said this ad nauseum on the show, that the beauty of Disney Plus is that it gives people the opportunity to find things they haven't yet seen. To us, to sit there and say you have not yet seen a Goofy movie is like, how can that be possible? Because It was such a staple of our childhood. But you forget that Disney's not just for your 30-plus-year-olds. It's also for 5- and 6-year-olds that are finding things on their own. And
that's what the plus is for.
Yeah, that's the plus. I think that has played a major hand, and I'm glad that the movie is finally getting its flowers and getting its due credit, because I think it is a much better film than it is credited for, at least by the standards that were 1995.
I think Disney Plus had a lot to do with it, but I think the 20th is when it really started to see that second life, because they did do a D23 panel. And that was when everybody started to kind of take a beat and go, huh, like the cast and Kevin Lima started going, huh, there's something here, because they got like the smallest panel. They say this in the documentary. They had like the smallest panel room, and 1,000 people got shut out of it. And they didn't think anybody was going to show up. So I think it started, but Disney Plus certainly poured gasoline on the fire, because that was the other thing. It was kind of like, if you know, you know. If you caught this in the theaters, which I remember seeing it with my mom when I was a kid, and I kind of always remembered what happened to it. You couldn't really find it on VHS because it wasn't successful, so they didn't really do a huge release for it. I think that's where Disney Plus breathed a second life in, as far as it was accessible again. And then it started the conversation all over again, because you really couldn't find it.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it for the first time at a video rental, and then we owned the VHS, and then I remember being in Best Buy and seeing one copy. And this is when Best Buy would have thousands of movies. And they would have dozens of copies of the same movie. There was one copy of a Goofy movie, and I couldn't buy it fast enough for the reason you're talking about. It was, at the time, a very rare title to find, so I couldn't pass it up. All right, I'm not going to pass this up either. Let's get in the car. Let's drive down I-4. Nothing anybody ever wants to say, but we're going to say it today. Let's talk about going to Universal, getting one last taste of Mardi Gras, starting with our first and, unfortunately, only visit to the Cursed Coconut Club.
Well, that was why we wanted to squeeze it in. This was the very last weekend, and we made it by the skin of our teeth. You literally got me from the airport, and we booked it over to Universal so that we could make Cursed Coconut on the last weekend. Theming great, as always. It was really fun. I liked the fortune teller vibes. So very, very on brand as far as Mardi Gras. Very much felt like New Orleans. Different this year at the Cursed Coconut. Each bar had different drinks.
I kind of like that, though.
I was going to ask you, because we didn't really talk about it that night because we were with so many people, so we didn't really get to break it down. I like what it meant for the bartenders, because I feel like a lot of people just default to the main room, the bar in front of the stage, and the other bartenders don't get as much love, so they're not getting as much tips, and so that's something that you and I are very conscious of, because you're in the food and beverage industry.
Yeah.
So I liked that we did a lap before we commit to one of them to see what was on each menu.
Yeah.
I liked it for that, but once we did commit to a spot, I was like, oh, okay, now I gotta go to this other bar if I want to try a different drink. And they had different beers at each one, too. They rotated everything.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was kind of fun that it forced you to go and see every bar and see the entire facility. I mean, that's the thing, right? There have been times where we've gone in, and when you know that it's the same thing, it's almost like, what's the point of having 3 bars? I also think that they don't do the volume there that they used to do. So I don't think that you necessarily need 3 bars. I don't think it gets busy enough to the point where you need 3 bars. So to take it and theme each one differently and theme each room and each space uniquely, I thought it was really cool. I look forward to them doing it again, because I feel like doing it with Cursed Coconut was a good test run for what they can do with Halloween Horror Nights when they go to Dead Coconut, and then I think they can really expand on that for Red and Green Coconut, because at Christmas time I thought Red and Green Coconut, when they did the ski lodge thing, I think that was the best. That might have been. I loved 80s Vampires. That might have been the best one that they've done, and I said that at the time.
80s Vampires was probably my favorite, as far as where would we hang if this was not a limited time edition? I would go to that bar if it was, to put it on your terms, I would drive down I-4 for that bar, Of
course.
If it was just something that existed in the world. I think as far as theming goes, I would agree with you. Earl's Ski Lodge was the best they've ever done. That was just so perfect for the season, perfect for the holidays. Especially being in Florida, it gave me that, it's a ski lodge fit. It did exactly what it was supposed to do.
If Earl the Squirrel had a Hallmark movie, that's what it was.
But I do agree with you. I don't know. It was a good time to test it out. I don't know that they can do this with the volume that they do for Horror Nights. Compounded with Epic Universe is going to be open for Horror Nights this time around. I don't know. I think they were testing it out to see if theoretically they could pull this off when they're at their like peak volume.
I'm starting to think Epic Universe is not going to have an impact on a lot of things at Universal because you don't have to park on site at Universal proper, where CityWalk and everything is. Epic Universe has its own parking lot, which a lot of people are excited about. I thought opening Epic was going to make Universal a nightmare. I don't think it's going to impact anything there.
I think it's telling that as of now, they opened it up so that the individual day tickets are on sale. Whereas when they first started selling, in order to gauge the sales, you had to book an entire vacation package.
That's not to be confused with I don't think it's going to do well. I think it's going to be a smash.
Oh, I think it's going to be great, but I think that they were smart about how they staged everything. We're going to have everybody who wants a vacation package book first.
Yeah.
And then if we're not hitting capacity, we'll do the single days.
Right.
And it's starting with the APs. They let, cast members, and they expanded it. Like, what they've been doing was really smart. Like, they had their media day. They've been having cast members go, and they opened it up to some of their other properties like Comcast so that you could go down if you work anywhere under the NBC Universal umbrella. You could have your preview day. So far from everything I've seen, and it's very little because I'm not actively seeking out content from influencers. I'm only seeing like what our friends have posted that have gone. It just looks like they're doing a really great job as far as like crowd control and the way that they're letting the cast experience it first. I think that they've been doing a really, really great job. But back to Universal proper. We left the Cursed Coconut, went in to catch our last viewing of the Mardi Gras parade, and I felt like we were in a parade because we got spotted by our dear friends, your friends from the running team, who I have just taken on as my own, even though I don't run with them. But I love them nonetheless. And they spotted it, and it was one of those moments of like, oh my God. And then like one by one, I started recognizing, like,
it was like watching dominoes fall.
Yeah, it was. I saw one couple, and then it grew into like 7 people, and we were like, oh my God. So we got to watch our last Mardi Gras parade with friends. It was so much fun. It made the experience all the better. And there were a lot of things that I did not know that I learned as far as being able to stash your drink so that you can catch the beads. I thought we had a really great system going, and no, we were very novice compared to the professionals we were hanging out with.
Well, that's the difference between going twice or 3 times a year and going twice or 3 times a week. It was an absolute great time. And then most of the group split from there, but we did go over to do Cowfish, which is a restaurant that we've heard is excellent, and it's been something it's been on our radar for a considerable amount of time. But we had just decided that day, because it is noteworthy that it monsooned. Thankfully, we were in Cursed Coconut Club. It absolutely monsooned. So a lot of people flooded out of the park at the same time and then flooded back in. Thankfully, the rain had stopped by the time the parade was going off. Otherwise, I don't think they would have held the parade. But what it led to...
Because we had kind of resigned that we weren't even doing the parade.
At that point.
We had known it was going to rain. I was just happy that it didn't affect my flight at all. So we kind of were like, all right, if we see it, we see it. If we don't, we don't. We'll just stay at Cursed.
And so we had said at that point that Cursed is right next to Cowfish. We'll go there for dinner if we don't see the parade. Well, we end up seeing the parade, but the thing was, because everybody flocked back in, we wanted to go back to Puerto Rico and go have that amazing barbecue that we had that I'm going to be salivating over until next February.
They better bring that back.
But because everybody flooded back in, the lines were crazy. So we said, you know what? We already had Cowfish on the mind. Let's go to Cowfish. Cowfish, in an instant, has become not only one of my favorite places to eat at Universal, it is one of my favorite places to eat in Orlando.
In Orlando, period. Yeah. There's really no rhyme or reason we haven't done it. It's just that usually when we go to Universal, it's either for a festival, so we're snacking on festival food, or we're doing, we get the parking validated. So in that case, we'll usually park over at Sapphire Falls. We'll eat at Strongwater Tavern, walk over. That's usually when we're doing a concert.
Right.
So we just haven't gotten around to it, but now this is going to become like a staple. There's like still 45 things that I want to try on the menu. Everything that we did do was incredible. They do, for an appetizer, we got a deconstructed crab rangoon. So it's basically like a crab dip with the crunchy chips that you dip into it. It was so good. You even tried it.
Yeah, I don't like crab, and I tried it.
You thought you didn't like crab.
No, I'm telling you I don't like crab. But the way they blended this, the flavors, it was just perfect. Like, top notch. And the burger, unbelievable. The burger was delicious. The fries were great. Everything we had, the calamari, everything we had from there was just outstanding. And the nice thing about it was that it's a sit-down restaurant. They have 2 bars. The bar upstairs was wide open because I think people feared that the skies were going to open up again. Mm-hmm. We looked at the radar and we knew we were clear for a couple hours. We went up there, got spots at the bar right away for multiple people, not just us. The service was a little slow, but it's because they were just very busy. It's a Saturday night. For people that did try to escape the rain, they all flooded any open restaurant they could find. So there's a level of pack your patience, I think, depending on the time of year that you go and depending on the conditions. But if you can pack your patience, and you should, it is absolutely worth the wait for the food. It was really, really good.
That's something I can't wait to go back on a night where we're like not doing much else and like time it out so that we can eat and then we'll hear Piano Rob playing down by Pat O'Brien's.
Yeah, that would be a nice night.
That'll be a good night. So then, well, no, I did not have a break from the park. I only had like a one-day weekend break from the parks because you did Springtime Surprise.
Yes.
But we also got to experience Garden Rocks. So I will let you talk about your epic run here.
So I was signed up for the Springtime Surprise 10-miler, which was incredible themed this year. And our good friend Brian, who, if you follow us on social media, you'll see he did make a cameo in one of our videos.
You'll also recognize him from the testimonial of my vacation planning.
He had never done a runDisney race before. He had never done any race before. And I've been trying for years to get him to do runDisney, and finally he decided that this was the weekend he wanted to tackle.
Well, you said your goal was to inspire at least one person, and you are on track to do one person a year since we've been down here. So kudos to you for that, for making it look so fun.
Yes.
I'm not going to do it, but,
And I think
I'm proud
got...
of you and everybody who has followed suit.
I've already got my 3rd lined up for year 3.
I'm saying.
Hopefully she follows through on it, because I did a race with her and a few of my former coworkers last weekend, and she is all in. So I'd be one a year is now, I guess, my benchmark.
Well, no, she would be your 4th.
She would. No, she'd be my 3rd. The fourth person had previously done runDisney, taken a sabbatical, and came back.
Fair enough.
So I need somebody new. So I'm bringing new people in. Anyway, with that said, let's talk about springtime. Brian wanted to do a race. We signed up for the 10-miler because, as he said, it's easier than a 10K. Because Brian doesn't know the metric system. So
sorry, buddy, you're not living that one down. Ever. Till I die, you're going to hear about it.
It's going on his headstone. So we sign up, and Jackie...
It could have been done in 6 miles.
So, Jackie, I know a person, booked us our stay at Endless Summer, which, if you all know, has become my home away from home when it comes to runDisney weekends. Even though it is a universal resort, economically it's far more affordable than staying at Disney, and because I have my own car and I'm driving myself there, it takes me no longer to get from there to Disney than it would taking a Disney bus. But it is literally half the cost. We were able to get a 2-bedroom suite with a kitchenette at Endless Summer, 3 queen beds, 2 flat screen TVs for under $400 for the weekend. It was a slam dunk home run couldn't miss.
And it looked amazing. I mean, I've still not stayed at Endless Summer. I am only going off of your reviews and your picture, but this suite with the little kitchenette looked so nice, so spacious. Yeah, I'm excited to stay there one day.
And his buddy Mark, who ran with us when we were sitting at the pool bar the first day after we checked in, we were just kind of lounging before we had an early night in. He looked around, and he's fairly well traveled, and he had said that sitting at that bar and just looking around and how they manicure everything and how they decorated everything and how they laid everything out, he honestly said, like, it reminded him of being at a pool in Vegas. So for a value resort at Universal, which is far cheaper than a value resort at Disney, the amenities are top-notch.
For now. I like to preface this with, this does not always work for everyone. It works for you because you have the car. So even though you're paying for parking, it might not make sense if people are traveling in for a race weekend and would have to pay for an Uber to get over to Disney property. But, you know, that's why you use a travel agent. We do our research. We price everything out for you. We do what makes the most sense for you. And in this case, this made sense for you guys.
So we got over to the expo to do packet pickup, and I was very critical, rightfully so, of how Marathon Weekend went, specifically at Expo. I felt Expo was a circus. I didn't find it to be organized at all. I thought that it was mismanaged, especially compared to Wine and Dine, which had only been 2 or 3 months prior where everything was flawless, and I am happy to report that Springtime Surprise was flawless again. It felt like it was organized the way it was at Wine and Dine. Everything was phenomenal. It was quick, it was efficient, everything was laid out properly, the lines moved the right way. It just didn't feel like the circus act that was Marathon Weekend, which was refreshing for me because I was ready, honestly, after Marathon Weekend, I was ready to take a break from runDisney outside of Wine and Dine and Marathon Weekend, just because those two race weekends mean so much to me.
I was very happy to hear that on your behalf, but I was also very happy that was Brian's first experience, because he was so concerned with his training and not getting swept by the balloon ladies. More on that in a sec. It was just one less thing that he had to worry about too. Just having everything run so smoothly.
Yeah. So we got there that morning, and thanks to our friend Lisa Denoto over at the Castle Run, she was able to post the closing times for all of the corrals. And what was noteworthy was, for Marathon Weekend, the last corral was G. I was in Corral B because they did accept my proof of time. Hallelujah. Brian had never run a race, didn't have a POT. He was in F. And I said, okay, well, you're in the second to last corral, so you have a bit of a cushion. That'll make you feel better. We go to sleep. Well, they go to sleep, and I'm nodding off, and I just happened to see Lisa's post, and I went, uh-oh. They trimmed out Corral G. So Corral F was the last corral. So let's sign up as many people as we did previously, but eliminate an entire corral. Makes sense, right? Cram everybody into less corrals. The beauty of runDisney is if you have a high corral, you can still run with your friends. They cannot come up to you, so they can't go from F to B. However, you can slide from B all the way back to the last corral, which I was able to do so that Brian had the adrenaline boost. And at one point I had said to him, we came out good out of the gate, and I had said to him, hey, do you feel like you need to slow down? And he was like, no, let's go. And it was such a proud moment for me, running up Hollywood Boulevard, or Sunset Boulevard over in Hollywood Studios, where he had that moment of, I want to keep going, because he was so convinced that he was going to get swept. And I knew the whole time that he wasn't going to be swept. But I needed him to know what I knew the entire time, which was that he could do it. In that moment, he knew he could do it, and it was like such a proud moment for me. The proudest moment for me being that when we finally got towards the finish line and we make the turn. If you've run runDisney, if you haven't, coming out from behind Guardians, you make a left turn, and they have a choir. Everybody's seen videos of the choir. And the choir is what you see when you are less than a quarter of a mile from the finish line. And they're so talented, and they're so inspirational, and they're so uplifting that Brian literally grabs my arm. And I had to fight back tears. I'm not too proud to admit this. He grabs my arm and goes, "You've changed my life." I could have retired right then and there, and I would have gone out on top.
That was the first time he made me choke up that weekend. The second was that this is his first race. Obviously, we have photo pass attached to our annual passes. And you told me after the fact that you were going through all the pictures, and you're like, this guy's crossing the finish line, he's on his phone. What could he possibly be? Like, maybe he's calling the girls or whatever to celebrate or whatever, but he's like buried in his phone. Not until after the fact where he sends you a picture of yourself running over the finish line.
In the sunrise.
It's a gorgeous picture. The sun is rising. The God rays are like coming through the finish line to sweep you in. He got probably the best picture of you
that anybody's ever taken.
Ever existed. And selflessly, in his moment, he gave it to you. And I was like, damn it, Smalley.
Yeah, it was a great moment. And so needless to say, he's all in. He wants to do more races, and he and I are discussing our next runDisney race.
We also had
that's
sort of
super exciting.
A bucket list moment
We
that
sure
weekend.
did.
Because since we have been down here, Sugar Ray will play the festivals, and it is always, like clockwork, a weekend that we are blocked out with our annual pass. It's usually Columbus Day, and we get blocked out. This time, as soon as I saw it go up that they were Garden Rocks, and I was like, oh, it's going to be spring break. We're not going to get to see it. Nope, it was springtime surprise. That was my springtime surprise, was that Sugar Ray was not on a weekend that we were blocked out. I made a reservation immediately. I was like, I don't care that it is boys' weekend. I don't have to see you. I am going to see Mark McGrath and his Frosted Tips at Epcot, finally. And we did. We saw all 3 sets. It was just like it was 1999 because, gosh darn, his hair was frosted. And I love that he's so self-aware.
Yeah.
Because he'll laugh at himself for it. But they did 3 really great sets. They played all the hits. Like, they really didn't go into a lot of, like, B-sides or anything.
Played one new song that was actually really good.
Yeah. But they were fun. They were so much fun. And, gosh, he was fearless. He went out into the crowd more than I've ever seen anybody do it.
They were outstanding. Like, we've seen them a number of times, so we knew they were going to be good. But there's something different seeing a band you grew up in playing at Epcot. It just it brings you back to your childhood. Not only because it was the music you grew up on, but let's call it what it is. We all become a kid again when we come to Walt Disney World. So you just live in this time capsule of like being 12 years old, and it's the best time in your life because you have no worries. And now you have no worries because you're drinking at Epcot, so all of your worries are numbed and it's Hakuna Matata, and then you relive all of these fond memories, whether it be a vacation or the music and the summers you spent with your friends listening to the music. Like, it was just a wonderful moment, and to be able to celebrate with Brian in this runDisney weekend was just over the top.
Well, that was what really hit me like a ton of bricks more than anything else, because I looked over at Bri at one point and I went, oh my God. When these songs were popular the first time around, I was sitting next to this guy in math class, and we were 13. And I've known him longer than that. I've known him since the 3rd grade, but like that kind of got me a little emo too. I was like, man, I have known him a long time, but like that was very trippy to think that we were teenagers. Like, obviously, I'm very aware of the nostalgia factor and seeing a band like this at Epcot, but like, to be there with somebody that I knew back then, it was just very much full circle. It was trippy. I felt very old, but not as old as Mark McGrath, who's still dying hard with the Frosted Tips.
So, talking about getting emo,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure how I would handle it or not, but the following weekend, first off, I ran I ran a 15K in the morning, so I did basically another 9-mile race. And then napped in the car because we drove out to Universal because we had tickets to go see Mac McAnally play at Hard Rock Live. There are so many things about this that are so noteworthy. The first being that the first time we went to Hard Rock Live, we had such a miserable experience. I said, I believe, on this program, the only thing that would get me back there would be Mac McAnally. We have gone twice since then, but when Mac McAnally announces a show, I'm like, well, this is full circle. We gotta go.
Would you like to explain to our dear listeners who Mac McAnally is?
He was Jimmy Buffett's right-hand man for 40 years.
He's a legend. He's a legend in his own right. But a lot of people may not know the individual names of Jimmy Buffett's band, other than the man, the myth, the legend himself.
And Jimmy was my guy. I was training for Dopey when Jimmy died. I took it very hard. I did an 8-mile run that day in tribute of him. It was a very hard run to get through. And if I'm being honest with you, I have a Jimmy Buffett tattoo on my arm. Like, Jimmy has just meant the world to me, going back to, I'll put it out there. Being a kid, I never liked snow, I never liked cold. And I used to wonder, what would it be like to live in a place where you didn't have those things anymore? And I sat there when everybody was giving their parents computer viruses, pirating music off the internet, back in the 90s, and that's how I found Jimmy Buffett. And he got me through a lot of long winters, and he put me in a place, and I was 13, 14 years old. But it was one of those wonderful moments where you look for something and you find it, and it just stays with you forever. That was me with Jimmy. So I didn't know how to... I knew we were going to go see Mac McAnally, and the tickets were very affordable. And I just didn't know if I could do it. I knew I'd be fine, but if I'm I didn't know if I was really going to enjoy the show. I didn't know if I was going to be able to make it through the show, because it kind of hurts me to say this, because I've done Run Margaritaville twice. I'm signed up to do it again this year. And it's such a great time. But my hand to God, I really have not been able to listen to the music since he passed away. So
I haven't either. And I mean, it doesn't mean as much to me as it does to you, but that was something that I hadn't really considered, because it had become such a staple in my life, and some of my best memories are going to the tailgates before the concert, because you got so many of our friends on board with it. Those are some of my fondest memories, and I didn't realize how much it was sort of affecting me by extension. And then we sort of doubled down on it, because we went to Margaritaville. We loved Cowfish so much. We were so close to going back there, but we were we're seeing Mac McAnally. We have to go to Margaritaville before. So everybody kind of did the same thing before the show. They went, and we struck up a conversation with this couple at the bar, and they had mentioned that they had seen the Coral Reefers go out on tour.
The Keep the Party Going shows that they're doing.
It was the first set of shows without Jimmy. And they said it felt very somber. It was not, it was not a cash grab. It was just...
They said it felt sad.
Yeah. And it was, I'm sure, in the band's mind, they thought they were doing a wonderful thing to keep the memory alive, to try and help people find joy in losing him. And I'm sure a lot of this was a healing process for themselves. But from a fan's perspective, they said that it was just kind of a somber thing. It wasn't as uplifting as they hoped it was going to be. So now I'm sitting there, and I'm looking at Sean, and I'm like, oh, no, this is going to be a long night.
So we get to the show, and he's performing with Scotty Emmerich, who wrote a lot of music with Toby Keith. And we had friends that were with us at the show that were able to meet Mac after the show. We had to get back to Walt, so we didn't get to hang around, which was fine. And I said, if you get a chance to meet him, I just want you to pass along one message to him. From me, if you get the time, and I want you to know that because of this show, he made it okay to listen to the music again. This was fun. Tears in your eyes the entire show, lump in your throat the entire show, but it never got sad. He kept it very lighthearted. His sense of humor is amazing. So between him and Scotty, it was like a tribute to both Jimmy Buffett and Toby Keith. So it's all music that you know and love. And it felt like a celebration of life that was a real celebration of life. And I'm so happy that we went. The show was outstanding. They're incredible musicians. And frankly, we've now been to 4 shows at Hard Rock Live. And I think the last 2 that we've gone to, the Lytton Bowling for Soup show and then Mac McAnally, I think it has completely redeemed the Kevin Smith experience and to a lesser extent, the Pod Meets World experience.
I will say this. I like, and I don't normally love a GA show, I like when the floor is standing room. I think it's a better venue for that than it is to put the seats. Except this time around. They had different seats. For Pod Meets World, they had folding chairs. These, they had like a nice, like a dinette chair, almost like something you'd expect to see at a catering hall. It was like a nice chair. They tethered them together, so if you needed to go out, there was nobody behind us, so when I needed to get up and go to the bathroom, I was hoping to just like slide the chair back and escape through the back. No, none of that is happening. They are zip tied together. But I agree. With everything except there were tears in my eye. My tears fell. I was surprised that out of everybody there, you were the one to hold it together.
I was the one person that did, of the 4 of us that were there, I was the one person who did not cry.
I didn't think...
I came close, but I didn't actually do it.
I didn't think it was going to hit me so hard. But it wasn't really the sadness over the loss of Jimmy. It was definitely homesickness because, like I said, these are some of my fondest memories. And, like, it did hit me that, like, wow, I haven't listened to this music in, like, 3 or 4 years at this point. I was thinking of the tailgates with our friends. I was, thinking of home. And also, like what this has grown into with our friends who do listen to this music and our friends that have named their child Finn in honor of this man. And this is really starting to sound cultish, but, if the shoe fits. So I was getting really, really nostalgic. And then, 3-4 songs into the set, he sits at a piano and plays Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which will make me cry on a random Tuesday. I was not at all prepared for this in any way, shape, or form. But it was just a great night. And it was a great show. And not only was the venue really great, they sounded incredible. Like, you had leaned over to me at one point and you were like, they sound so full.
And there were only 3 of them on stage.
That's the remarkable thing. They had such a round, full sound just because they're such amazing musicians. If you're a Jimmy Buffett fan and you're on the fence about it, and you can, go see it. It will not disappoint you and it will not be sad.
Yeah. And then finally, let's talk about what we did earlier today, which has become a little Easter tradition for us since we moved down here, which is to get over to the Grand Floridian and enjoy the Easter eggs.
Yeah, it was a little bit more crowded than I was expecting. I mean, time of year, it being around spring break, it's Easter weekend. The amount of people was what I thought it was going to be. What I was not expecting was that they had broken ground on the new bar that they're putting in the Grand Flow. I still kind of can't believe that they're doing this after they just spent 2 years renovating the lobby and putting a new carpet in, and now they're doing another bar. And I also don't understand why you got rid of Meisner's, but now you're going to put in a bar that is sort of reminiscent of Meisner's. Whatever, I guess I'm happy to have it back. But because they have the construction walls up already, it felt a little tight. And there are less eggs because they don't put them scattered about throughout the lobby the way they normally do.
Because of the construction walls.
Exactly. It's just around the immediate area where they're selling the treats. There's still a lot of eggs. They changed a lot of them up this year. There was a lot of new stuff. My favorite was probably the celebration for Cinderella's 75th. It was so beautiful, and they had, it's like the scene of Sing Sweet Nightingale with all the bubbles. They were able to emulate those bubbles in the shapes of eggs around the big chocolate egg. I loved that one. There was a Steamboat Willie one that I really loved. I feel like a lot more creativity this year, because it seemed like the criteria was just use the one egg mold And whether you cut it in half or 3/4 or however you do it, as long as it resembles an egg, do whatever you want. I feel like there was a lot more creative freedom this year.
I really liked the Inside Out 2 one, where they took the Easter eggs but scattered them and made them look like the core memories. All in all, I was happy to see, because I think the second year we went, it was a lot of repeats. So it was good to see that, like, all but 2 eggs were completely different and completely unique for this year.
And I mean, I get it. If you can preserve them, then by all means, don't, because you can't recycle the chocolate, right? Like, it's out. You can't serve that to anybody anymore.
Well, it's also covered in lacquer so that it doesn't fade or melt.
Also that. So there's really nothing you can do. If you can preserve them and get a couple of years out of them, I get it. You know, it's not like with the gingerbread house, where even though that's exposed to people and the elements, like, they will recycle that with bees.
Right.
I know Disney makes a lot of effort with conservation and recycling everything that they can, but I get if you're trying to stretch the life of them 2 or 3 years out, it's fine, you know.
Yeah.
But we were through pretty quickly, because they did have, since there was a limited amount of space, they kind of feed you through a queue. But you know, it was fun. It's become a nice tradition. We got our coffee from Gasparilla, we walked through, then we took the bus back here.
Yeah. So, we have had a really action-packed and fun month as Disney Parks and Universal Parks locals. And I am looking forward to next month, because we have some things on the docket that hopefully we're able to pull off. Some things that we're excited to see and sort of take in. I think we haven't really had the opportunity to take in Flower and Garden, because we were really there just for Sugar Ray, which was the right thing to do. But we enjoy Flower and Garden. I'm looking forward to taking it in a little bit more. And now that a lot of those topiaries are going to be more in bloom, it's going to look a lot more full, and maybe take in some more of the food and beverage that they have there. They just have a lot going on in the next month that, like, we're super excited for and super to report back on. But if you have something that you've recently done at Walt Disney World, or if there's something that you are looking to do at Walt Disney World, we would love to hear from you. You can send us an email, monoreelradio@gmail.com, or you can send us a message on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio. We do have a straw charm to give away, courtesy of our good friends over at Hidden Mickey Supply Co. And I am going to send this to the first person that DMs or emails the word Meisner's, because now you got me missing Meisner's, but we're kind of getting it back.
I really thought you were going to say miles, as in 10 miles, not 10 kilometers.
No, Meisner's. I will hold runDisney for a different weekend, certainly for a different Dockside chat. Well, thank you all so much for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and rate us on your podcast platform of choice. Be sure to follow us on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio. If you're looking to come down to Walt Disney World, I would encourage you to reach out to Jackie. She can get you set up with your dream vacation, and links to everything can be found at monoreelradio.com. For Jackie, I'm Sean. Have a magical week, everyone.